Good morning, friends. This is Terry from the Frugal Connection. Welcome to my kitchen. We're in a different part of the kitchen today, overlooking my stove. It is cold. It is rainy. It's kind of a very dreary day. The sun peeked out for just a couple of minutes, but then it went back behind the cloud and it's getting dark again. So I thought it would be a good day to make some soup, and I wanted to invite you along while I do that. I kind of scrounged around in my refrigerator and I found some different things that I have. And so this is not a fancy soup. It's just kind of using up the bits and pieces that I have. And I'll show you what I'm doing as I go along. Okay, we're not going to show a lot of my face on this video. I'm just going to start chopping some of these vegetables. I had a few little stalks of celery left, so I'm going to get these diced up. I have an onion. I have, I'm going to use probably about 2 cloves of garlic. And then I'm going to peel and slice 2 carrots. I have some cauliflower, cannellini beans, and we'll take it from there and see if I need to add anything else. So, all right. Let me get this turned on to about a medium heat to start. Now, I don't use oil in my cooking, so I am water sauteing this. I'm going to start out with just a hot pan, and if I need to add water to keep it from sticking, I will do that. I will also add just a tiny bit of salt. If you have a problem with salt, or you are going totally SOS free, which means no sugar, no oil, no salt, then just skip the salt. I have drastically reduced the amount of salt that I use in my cooking, but I still do use just a tiny little bit to draw out the moisture of the vegetables and also to just give it a little bit of flavor. But again, you do what works for you. My goal here is just to show you how to cook plant-based whole foods using no oil, no sugar, and no, and when I say no sugar, I mean no refined white sugar. I do use once in a while some maple syrup, maybe honey, but not so much on the honey. But you do what works for you. And I think I'm going to use this whole onion because they're not super big, and by the time I get it chopped up and cooked down, it'll be fine. I had a wedding last weekend. My daughter got married, and I have just been really dragging all week. So I meant to do this video earlier, and to be honest, it's kind of like when I sew, you know, I've had a sewing business for years, and I have to really be in the right frame of mind to sew, or it just does not come out right. And it's kind of the same thing with these videos. So I feel like I need to be in the right zone to do this. All right, I'm going to get rid of some of this extra stuff. Okay, I'm going to put my onion in there. So to my pan, I've added the chopped onion, the diced, they're both diced and chopped onion and celery. And I'm going to just add in a little smidge of salt. And I'm going to only use about 1/4 teaspoon, so about that much. And just stick it in there. Let it, most of it missed the pan. That's how I cook. And while that's heating up, what I'm going to do is get a couple of these garlic cloves off of here, off the head. Okay. Now, once this starts to saute, I will turn the heat down on the stove to low temperature, because that's the only thing, if you're sauteing without oil, you do need to do it kind of on a low heat just so that it does not stick or burn. If it starts to stick, all you have to do is put in a little splash of water. I put about a tablespoon of water in there, And then it continues to cook for me, and it keeps it from sticking to the pan. Garlic is a little harder because garlic does have a tendency to stick, so I kind of keep it on top of the other vegetables. And again, if it starts to stick, I'll use water. Now, every day when I eat my meals, I try to get some form of protein in it. Now, there is protein. There's a misconception that the only way you can get protein is from animal products. There is protein in everything you eat. It's just that some things have more protein than others. And so I do try to have a diet with a lot of beans and legumes. I will use tofu, tempeh, different things like that. But when I do the beans, I try to switch it up and do a different kind of bean each meal, so I'm not doing the same kind of bean for every single meal. So now this is starting to sizzle, and so I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir. And I have a really good nonstick pan. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law gave me this for Christmas, and it's called the Green Pan, and I actually really like it. It works really, really well. Now, if you don't like nonstick for whatever reason, then you can use cast iron. The only thing with cast iron, the vegetables do stick a little bit more, and it's okay. You can still do it. You might need to add the water earlier. I try not to add the water unless I absolutely need to. Okay, so while this is going, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Push this garlic out to the side. And I'm going to peel my carrots. I only use 2. Now, if you have organic carrots and you want to leave the peel on, then go ahead and do that. So as you can see, some of the moisture is coming off the vegetables, which is what you want. And this is just going to continue to cook, and I'm going to let it continue to saute just like you would if you had oil. It's just that we're not putting the added calories in there, which is what happens when you add olive oil to things. All right, and then I'm going to continue to chop up these carrots. It's a little challenging filming by myself, but doing the best I can. Now, if I had a good vegetable broth, like a one that doesn't have added salt, I would add this to the soup, but I'm going to just use water, which is fine, and it works fine for me because I season it, and it's fine for what I want. I'm going to turn this back up just a little bit and get it going some more. Okay, this is getting nice and steamy. You can see the vegetables are starting to turn translucent, which is what we want. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and then I will add my garlic in and give that about a minute to saute as well. In the meantime, I'm going to take I bought this giant size head of cauliflower, and so I want to take some of this off of here. And this is what I'm going to use. I'm not going to use all of it. And there is a little brown spot that I want to take off of this. Push that to the side. Okay. And basically, I'm just going to cut this into small pieces, like small slices, because once those vegetables are done sauteing, the garlic, the onions, the celery, the carrots will continue to cook once I add the water. But once I get those done, then I'm going to add in this cauliflower, and then I'm going to add in some water and let the cauliflower cook. Take this piece off. All right, now when it gets to this point, what you might need to do is just add a tiny bit of little water, and that's all I'm going to do. And it'll start to steam up, but then it stops, you know, it'll release from the pan, so it's no longer, it wasn't sticking a lot, but it was a little bit. And I am going to add in my garlic. Now, if you don't like garlic, you don't need to add it. You use what, this particular soup is great because you can use almost any vegetable that you want. And I'm not worried about cooking these to death right now because once I add the water, they will continue to all cook together just like, you know, it's soup. So often when I'm making, before I did plant-based and I was making like chicken soup or whatever, I would saute the onions and the garlic and the celery just to release some of the flavor in it. But then I would just add water or broth and it would go the rest of the way cooking that way. I think the thing that I like the best about plant-based cooking is that my family loves ethnic food. My husband and I are in full-time ministry, and we used to work for a nonprofit organization in the inner city in New Jersey. And so my kids grew up eating all food from all different ethnicities, different cultures, and so they, as adults, they still love that. And I just find that there's so many foods available that are ethnic foods that are vegan, vegetarian, and it's great. So we still get to eat the way we want, and yet experience different cultures that way, which is the way we're wired. We love that. Okay, so now I'm going to just add in my cauliflower. This pot might be just a little bit small, but that's okay. It'll cook down. All right. And what I'm going to add to this is about 2 cups of water. And I'm going to wait to season this until this cauliflower is cooked, because what I'm going to add is I have 2 cups of cannellini beans here, and then I have some different seasoning that I'm going to add to this. And in the meantime, I'm going to clean up some of this mess a little bit and just make it tidier. Okay, I cleaned up some of the mess, and I did turn up the heat on this, so it's right now, it's about medium high, just because I want to bring it up to a simmer and allow the heat to cook the carrots and the cauliflower. And then what I'm going to add to it is in here I have 2 cups of drained and rinsed cannellini beans. I think this type of bean lends itself well to anything with cauliflower, with potatoes, with carrots, and it's a way to thicken the soup as well. Then what I'm going to add is I am going to add a little bit more salt I think I may add a little bit of garlic powder. I have some thyme here and some cracked black pepper, and I'm going to just season it to taste. You can use whatever spices that you think would work well with this. Everybody's taste and palate is different, and so for me, this will work well. And when I make a pot of soup like this, like I'll have a big bowl of it for lunch, and then I will save it and probably will have it again tomorrow at some point. I'll eat it for breakfast. That's kind of been the different thing. I was never a big fan of breakfast because lots of times the foods that are available at breakfast time would just cause me to be shaking, and it would just mess with my blood sugar because a lot of them are simple carbs. You know, when you're eating stuff like pancakes and waffles, things like that, it's, you know, you're adding maple syrup, you're adding butter, you're adding, you know, sugar, all that kind of thing, which would just really mess with my blood sugar. So when I started eating this way, one of the fun things is that I can eat different things. Like, so for example, this morning I had some leftover ginger garlic tempeh cubes that I had marinated and sauteed and I had used in a salad. And so this morning what I did was I just took a little bit of rice and I put some of that on top of that. And then I took some frozen green beans out of my freezer and just added about a cup of green beans, and I microwaved it for 3 minutes, and my breakfast was ready. And it's kept me full all morning. And I actually ate early this morning. I ate about 7:30 because I was up at 5 a.m. But that's kind of been the neat thing about plant-based whole foods. And I think one day what I might do is a video on what I eat in a day and kind of show you some different breakfast options, some different lunch options, some different dinner options. The nice thing about plant-based whole food eating, if this is what you're eating 100% and you're not eating any of the processed foods, no refined sugars, things like that, is that you don't have to count calories. Like, I don't count calories anymore. I have a general idea of how much I want to eat in a day, and I go based on my satiety cues. So if I'm feeling full, I know that I'm done. But I don't worry about calories because everything I'm eating is plant-based or a whole food. So I don't have to worry about gaining weight. And in fact, I lost 72 pounds, but I've maintained it, and I haven't lost any more, but I haven't gained any more either. So that's kind of the neat thing. All right, now this is starting to boil. I am going to turn it down just a smidge. Take the lid off. All right, so while this is cooking, I am going to add to this now my beans. Throw those in there. When this is done, what I am going to do is I have a high-speed blender, and I am going to go ahead and blend it up so that it's a smooth soup, a creamy soup. And I'm going to turn the camera down so you can see what I'm doing at this point. Okay, so there you can see it, and now I'm going to add the spices. All right, so first I'm going to add my cracked black pepper, and I'm just going to give this, I don't know, I don't measure pepper anymore, I just go based on what I like. So you do the same thing with yours. And I'm also going to add in about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, just because I like garlic, and it gives it a little more garlicky taste. I'm going to add a teaspoon, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I do use Redmond's real salt, but you can use whatever salt you'd like. And I'm going to add in a teaspoon of dried thyme. Oh, it smells good. This was from my garden. I actually I grew thyme, I dried it, and I just hung it to dry, and then ground it up and put it in a jar. And I think I'm also going to add in a tiny bit of paprika. All right, that's about half a teaspoon of paprika. And I'm going to just give this a good stir, and then I'm going to put the lid back on it and let it go for another, I don't know how long it's going to take, probably about 10 minutes for the cauliflower to get to the right. You want the cauliflower soft because you're going to blend this all up, and you want your carrot soft. If you don't want to blend it, if you want a chunkier soup, then just don't worry about it. One good thing that would be great in here that I just don't have, if I wasn't going to blend it, I don't know that I'd want to blend it because it would turn it green, is some chopped kale. But I do not have any kale at the moment, nor do I have any spinach, because both of those would work in here as well. Okay, I'm going to put the lid back on and let that sit for a little bit. Welcome back. I took it off the stove, and I think this looks great. One thing I was thinking of while this was cooking that would be really, really good is if you turned this into a curry cauliflower soup. You could add a teaspoon of curry powder to it. You could add some red Thai chili paste. You could add some coconut cream, coconut milk to it. But I had curry a couple of times this week, and I'm really not in the mood for curry at the moment, so I decided to just keep it the way I had it. But I think that it's very versatile, that you could use almost anything. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this to my blender. I have a NutriBullet high-speed blender. A food processor would work. All right, let me see if I can pour this without making a mess. Not so sure. All right. I don't want to put the pan in the sink because I want to save it to transfer this back in. All right, now, like always, when you're blending hot liquids, please be very, very, very careful. Make sure the lid is on the whole way. Start it out on low. Don't just whiz away because you can get very serious burns that way. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to transfer this back into my pan, and I might let it cook for just a few minutes more, though. I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. If you wanted to, you could also add some nutritional yeast to this. If you wanted it more like a cheesy soup. If you didn't want to use the cannellini beans, you could do a cashew cream, which will give it a thickness and that consistency you're looking for in soup. But I don't want the added fat of cashews in this, so that's why I went with the cannellini beans. Okay, so let me get it in a bowl, and I will show you the final result. Okay, I'm going to give it a taste. We'll see how it tastes like. Very good. It's very good. This is gonna keep me warm today. It's filling, so it will keep me full for a long time. It has the right amount of everything. All the spices are great. But again, you can make it any way you want. You can add whatever spices you want. You can add whatever type of bean you want. You could probably use a Great Northern bean would work in this, kind of a white bean. But this is really tasty. You could also add nutritional yeast. You could turn it into a coconut curry soup, any sort of thing that you want. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you to give you an idea of how you can be creative in the kitchen. You can take a simple can of beans and elevate them. There are some nights when I am tired and I don't feel like making anything. A lot of these meals come together in minutes, but sometimes I will just do something simple like a salad and just put some beans on top. But then there's other times where I want to put a little more creativity into it, and that's when I come up with these type of recipes. So I will get this recipe posted on my website. It's under thefrugalconnection.com under the blog. I will put the link down below in the description box. You can find different types of recipes that I've done in my new cookbook, Simple and Nutritious, which is on Amazon, and I will link that down below too. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe to the channel. That helps to get the word out. And I have just started this channel as a way to show that you can cook this way, you can eat this way, whole food, plant-based, in a really simple. This took less than 20 minutes to put together. I mean, it takes a little longer because I'm filming, but if I wasn't filming, 20 minutes or less. It also cost just a few cents. I mean, I used onion, garlic, celery, carrot, cauliflower, can of beans, and some water. So it doesn't cost a lot of money to eat this way. So it's a way to intersect my natural frugality with my health journey that I've been on in this past year. And so I just want to encourage you as you are beginning this, that you just find ways to eat in a more healthy manner and in a way that won't cost a fortune. You don't have to buy fancy ingredients. You don't have to go out to health food stores and get all the latest vegan whatever. It's just plain good food. It's just whole grains, beans and legumes, fruits and vegetables. And that's basically all I eat. I don't buy because even vegan food can be unhealthy if you're buying all the processed stuff. So I don't buy any of that. I just stick to the fruit and vegetable section and the grain section of my grocery store. I hope you're having a good day. I will sit down now and eat my soup on this cold, chilly September day here in Western New York. I hope you're having a good Saturday wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video.